at here is, this is the operations manager landing page. And this is where we control information about our projects. As you can see on the side, there's a way that you can take pictures and drawings and all that type of stuff. We're not really going to go through that today. I specifically want to focus on the Sage data. But there are some reports that we definitely want to show on here in regard to that information, in regard to pre-con.
And all of the jobs, that previous screen, these are all the jobs that you track your cost in Sage, and it essentially syncs with the construction cloud. And that's what you're doing this, right?
That's correct. Yep, everything here, all links to Sage. And you showed that screen earlier to where you have a bunch of different systems that all kind of link together. So we'll have Sage, we have a SQL server that has separate information that we track at the project level. Excel, we're pretty heavy in Excel, like most companies. We figured out a way to tie that information in there as well. Those are probably the three biggest. We have a couple other tables that we feed into other areas, but those are the major areas that we end up pulling our data and marrying everything.
Got it.
So what you're looking at here is the menu on the side, and we're going to look specifically at the reporting portion of, as we go through all of this, we're actually going to be looking at the reporting portion. There are different aspects that we look at. We're going to focus on this portion for the estimating aspect. And there's two reports that we want to look at. One is the non-labor measurable report, and I'm going to just click on the tab here to show it to you. And the other one is this labor history report. So I'll start with the labor history report. So what you're looking at is both Excel information that we've married on statistics about the project. Oh, and I should probably preface this whole thing. I have modified some of the data on here just for the sake of the performance aspect, making sure that all of our information is not out there. If you're looking at this, it's not real. It's all been modified just so that I can share without any issues showing some information that's on here. But this is one aspect of what we want to say of Sage information and basically a real life application of how we're utilizing Sage information to affect our bids. What you have on the left-hand side here is these are a grouping of our 5,000 cost codes. There are regular form work, non-labor cost codes. So you've got heavy lumber, freight, and some things that we track on different aspects of our bid. And then we have the different variables and the different measurables that we use for each one of these bids. So we have each one of these non-labors as a percentage of our labor for the project, so we know what the ratio is from plywood cost to labor percentage, plywood cost per square foot, what our plywood cost per month is, and what our estimate versus actual is for that work. Now, right now we're looking for years 2011 through 2013. You can see I kind of just stripped out the job names here for talking purposes. But what we've been able to do is the raw information about our actual costs, they come from Sage. So we're pulling everything in, it lives real time in Sage. The information about our budgets actually come from Excel, one Excel source that we pull when it comes to our final cost report, and where we pull that from. And the last one is a secondary SQL that we have that gives attributes and appends on attributes that we need to best look at cost histories. So for example, here you're looking at a group of projects that are in Washington. And you have the different, throughout the years, you have these different projects. Along over here, we've created this attribute to be able to say, well, what kind of job is this? Because a long span parking garage is different than a high rise when it comes to making sure that when you're bidding your work and looking at these past costs and these past measurables, saying, is what we're bidding right now in line with what we've done in the past? Does this make sense? If we're ever going to bid something that's outside of these numbers that we're going to pull cost history standpoint, you need to have justification for them. Yes, every job is different, but once you start casting that net and you start taking a look at all of the information, especially over the years, you can really start to narrow down and find trends in there to be able to put against the project that you're doing, saying, hey, does this project make sense? Estimating, I was in estimating for 10 years before switching over to the operations side. and it's nerve-wracking. You have 50% of the information, you're going to put this huge budget out. And these are the type of things that you have that you need to look back on and say, does it make sense? Is the bids and the dollars that I'm putting towards this bid make sense based on everything that we've done in the past? So for example, if I were to bid a high-rise garage and I wanted to check my plywood square footage, which is one that we use a lot, I'm going to jump in here and I'm just going to select high-rise as the type of building. So here we're looking at 3 projects that have high-rise as a part of their building. And notice that my plywood per month changed drastically. It went from 9 something a month to 11 a month at least as a square foot. So that's big, right? That lets me take a look at my next bid and say, hey, am I in line with this? I need to be bidding this at 79 cents a square foot or close to it, depending on the sequence of the structure, of course, and be able to justify these costs and really have this information at my fingertips. Now, I didn't have to dig through cost reports. I didn't have to go wonder, who knows about this job, because usually it's only the senior individuals that can go back and say, oh, this job that we did in the past, we should look at the cost histories for that one. Everything right here is just based on the filters and the information that we pre-populated into it. So from a non-labor standpoint, this is one of the reports that I'll say that we look at as far as past cost histories.